You know that feeling when you scroll through a dozen glossy photos of a gas range, picture it in your kitchen, and then the moment it actually arrives, the burners feel underpowered, the oven temperature swings, and you're left wondering if you just bought a fancy piece of decor? I've been there, and I've also spent a few weeks actually cooking on the Forno Marco 30-inch model, so I can tell you whether it's the kind of thing that will make you love your stovetop or regret the purchase. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest hesitation most people have is that a big, heavy-looking stove can look perfect on a showroom floor, but be a nightmare in a real-world kitchen. The Marco tries to bridge that gap with a commercial-style build, an integrated temperature gauge on the oven door, and 4 sealed burners that together push about 37,000 BTU. The question is whether that power translates into usable heat when you're actually sautéing, searing, or simmering a pot of sauce. I set it up in a mid-size, 12 by 12-foot kitchen that already had a dishwasher and a fridge squeezed into the opposite wall. The first thing you notice is the heft. The unit sits solidly on the floor, and the legs can be adjusted a bit to level it on uneven tile. That heaviness is part of what gives it that commercial vibe, but it also means you'll need at least 2 people to get it through a standard doorway. If you live in a tight apartment building where a delivery crew can't maneuver a 30-inch slab, this might be a deal breaker. Once it was in place, the burners proved to be the most immediate point of difference. The 2 front burners sit at 5,000 BTU each. The middle pair jump up to 9,500 BTU, and the rear right burner caps at 12,000 BTU. In practice, the high-output rear burner really shines when you're trying to get a pan hot for a quick sear, drop a steak in, and you hear that satisfying sizzle within seconds. The middle burners are a comfortable middle ground for everyday dishes like stir-fry or a pot of pasta sauce. The smaller front burners are a bit slower to respond, which can be a nuisance if you're used to turning a dial and feeling instant heat. In my testing, I found that for delicate tasks like melting butter for a roux, the low-output burners can be a little finicky. You have to watch the flame closely because it tends to linger just above the pan edge before fully igniting. That's not a deal breaker, but it's something to be aware of if you do a lot of precision work. The oven is a 4.32 cuffed convection space with a metal temperature gauge embedded in the door. The gauge is a nice visual cue that lets you glance at the oven without opening the door, but it's not calibrated like a professional probe. It drifts by a few degrees after the first half hour of preheating. In real life, I discovered that the oven holds temperature fairly well once it's up to speed, but it takes a full 12-minute preheat to stabilize around the set point. If you're used to hitting bake 350F and getting there in 5 minutes, you'll need to plan a bit more time. For everyday baking casseroles, cookies, or roast chicken, it works fine, and the convection fan does help even out hot spots that you sometimes get in a standard gas oven. However, when I tried a delicate souffle, the slight temperature lag caused the rise to be a bit uneven, so I'd recommend using the broiler setting for that kind of precision instead. Cleaning is often where gas ranges earn extra points or lose them. The Marco's stainless steel grates and sealed burners are designed for easy removal, and the surface is smooth enough that a quick wipe with a damp cloth does the trick after a typical dinner. The downside shows up when you have a spill that drips onto the side of the oven cavity. Because the oven door is fairly heavy and the gasket isn't as deep as you might find on a higher-end model, liquid can seep into the seam and leave a faint ring if you don't wipe it up right away. It's not catastrophic, but it's an extra step you'll need to remember if you're a fan of one-pot meals that tend to splatter. Now, who actually benefits from this stove? If you're a serious home cook who likes to sear meat at high heat, run multiple pots simultaneously, and appreciates a bit of professional flair without breaking the bank, the Marco lands in the sweet spot. The 4 burners give you flexibility. You can have a high-output burner for a wok, a medium one for a simmering sauce, and a low one for a gentle reduction all at once. The convection oven adds that extra layer of even cooking, which is handy for batch cooking on weekends. The heavy-duty build also means you won't be worrying about the knobs wobbling after a year of use. On the flip side,